What's up, everybody? Master Reactor here, and let's see how we're doing, people. Let's see on the rankings. Your boy is 4th place right now. It just restarted yesterday. I have a ranking of 378, so I'm about 100 points away from being first. And let's see the win rate. Let's see. Whoa, we got greens on deck. Damn. Win. And I have a replay versus doo-wop. So let's see what happened. You know, I gotta post a replay. At least one replay a day is guaranteed on this channel. For all you people that are watching, he throws scissors and I throw paper, so not ideal. He gets to go first. All right. Let's see how this game went down. This is a pretty good game, though, I must say. This was a good match. So he opens Morphing Jar, Double Chaos Sword, BLS, Mirror Force, and Sangan. I've got Sangan, Spy, Upstart, Chaos Sword, and BLS. He decides to summon Sangan and just pass. I draw into a deco. I decide to fire the Upstart, and I draw into Spy, so that is not very good. I decide to set my Sangan and just say go. He draws into a knock. He decides to just crash, and it is a Sangan. I grab my Sinister Serpent. He didn't want to knock, and he just says go. I draw into deco. I decide to set deco and say go. He draws into a Wing Blast. He decides to set the Wing Blast and swing again. And I draw into Graceful Charity. Okay, pretty good. Then I draw into Jar of Greed. I fired the Graceful. He says okay. I draw into Faith, Kaiku, and Breaker. I decide to throw out Sinister and Spy. And decide to set Jar of Greed and set Magician of Faith. He draws into Tribe. Now he decides to knock. So that was pretty good timing on his part because he got my fade. I thought he was just going to attack again. Should have set Spy, but it is what it is. So at least I get rid of his faves too. It's all good. He switches his Sangan and says go. I draw into Solemn. I fire the Jar of Greed. And I draw, or I get Sinister and Standby, and I draw into MST. I decide to set MST, set set Deco, and set Solemn Judgment and say go. He draws into a Regeki Break. He switches his thing into attack mode and hits my Deco. I draw into another card, which is Book of Moon. He sets one and passes. I end phase Typhoon it. It is a Regeki Break. Oh, it's a Mirror Force. Okay. He set the Mirror Force. I draw into Heavy Storm. Now I decide to fire the Book of Moon because he's at 9,000, but I'm just looking for a Thunder Dragon so I can go crazy on him and blow him out. So I set Solemn Judgment and Spy and say go. He draws into a Night Assailant. He decides to run his Sangan into my Deco and take the 400. He grabs a Sinister, then he uses Tribe and pops everything and just says go. And now I draw into my Thunder Dragon. Okay, so I think it's time. It's time to shine, people. Let's see how I play this. I decide to discard the Thunder Dragon and discard another one just so I can have 2 lights in the graveyard. I flip Spy. I drop the BLS and no priority. He tries to Wing Blast it. I instantly Solemn it. Okay, and then I drop Kaiku, and I drop another Chaos Sword. So, do the math. 1,400, 3,000, 3,000, and 23. That is a lot of damage. So, got him that game. That was pretty clutch to set it up like that. So, we got him game 1. Alright, let's see game 2, how it goes. Game 2, he opens Duo, Thunder Dragon, Book, Tribe, Mystic Swordsman level 2, and Wing Blast. He fires the Duo. and he gets my deco, and I decide to throw out my wing blast because I don't want to go more neg. And then he uses Thunder Dragon and grabs 2 and decides just to set wing blast and say go. I draw into Magician of Faith, which is pretty dead right now. I decide to set Solemn and say go. He draws into a deco. He decides to set the deco and say go. I draw into a knock, and now I decide to knock. I should have probably mind controlled this because it would have been better. I would have liked to have a draw because, as you can tell, it's not going that great for me right now. So I decided to knock and get my other deco out, and I set Magician of Faith and say go. He draws into a knock. He tries to run his level 2 out. I decide to solemn it. Just to solemn it because I figured I shouldn't have really solemn there, to be honest. I should have just let the level 2 go, but instead I didn't. And I draw into Graceful. I just say go. He draws into Heavy. He runs the tribe out. Hits me for 16. I'm at 24. I draw into Thunder Dragon, which is a great draw. I get my 2 Thunder Dragons. I fire the Graceful. I draw into Spy, Jar of Greed, and Spy. So drawing these Spies both games and only run 2 is pretty bad. So now I decide to banish a Dark and banish a Light. And I drop the BLS and call priority. And get rid of him. Now he doesn't have anything except for a Wing Blast. And I set Spy and say go. He draws into Snatch Steal. Okay, must be nice. He Wing Blast and targets my back row, and it is a Jar of Greed. I chain it. He uses Snatch Steal. Now, he doesn't know that you could book a moon, and then it resets. So this is pretty good for me. Not that it really is going to matter this game. This has been horrible. So he sets book a moon and just says go. He could have just won that turn, but he did not know. So I gain 1,000, I try to snatch him, he books it, and now I use mind control and banish itself and just set book a moon and say go. And he top decks Chaos Sork. He just says go. I draw on the duo. Shouldn't have probably fired this duo here because he wouldn't have had a dark for this next card he's going to draw. So he top decks BLS, he fires a Heavy Storm. And I was pretty afraid of this, so I probably shouldn't have duoed there. Maybe it would have been a different game if I wouldn't have duoed because he wouldn't have had a dark. So that was pretty stupid to duo, but it is what it is. Yeah, the game was just going bad anyways, and he had it anyways, technically, so let's see what happens game 3. If I wouldn't have duoed, maybe I could have came back that game. But game 3, I open Trap Dust Shoot, Spy, Breaker, Mind Control, Tsukiyomi, and Wing Blast. I decide to set Spy, set Wing Blast, and Trap Dust Shoot. He draws into Torrential. I decide to Dust Shoot and get his only monster. It's a Breaker. Now he knocks my shit. Get rid of all the Spies. I guess he's not running Spy. He probably is, but he didn't banish him. Whatever. Is what it is. I run the Breaker out. Maybe he boarded him out. Who knows? I don't really know, but I decide to crash, and he decides just to set ring and say go. I draw on a deco. I try to use Breaker. He rings it, and now I decide to set deco and say go. He draws into a Chaos Sork, and I flip it, and he says he's thinking on standby phase. So now it tells me that he has a Wing Blast, and he puts it on top, and I just say go. He draws into a Kaiku. He runs the Kaiku out. I know he has Snatch, Steal, and Torrential now. So I decide just to run out Tsukiyomi and swing Bada Bada at him. And he draws into a knock. I draw into Chaos Sork. I decide to set deco and say go. He draws into a Faith. He decides to knock. And I decide just to solemn it. I probably shouldn't have solemn that, but it is what it is. Now he sets a Torrential and says go. He's at 45. I decide just to flip the deco right away and draw into a Chaos Sork. I'm glad I didn't pitch the Thunder Dragon first here. Something told me just to flip it instead of doing a Thunder Dragon first. So now I know he has Torrential, and I decide to attack for 1400. And now I decide just to set Tsukiyomi and say go. He draws into Pot of Greed, into level 2 and Night Assailant. He sets the Night Assailant and says go. I draw into Duo. Okay, now I decide to flip Tsukiyomi. And he thinks about it and he says, okay, that's fine. He doesn't torrential yet. And I draw into a Deco. And now I'm going to trap him into torrential him. And now he decides to torrential. Okay, he fell right for it because now I just dropped the Chaos Orc and dropped the Deco and attack for game. So let's go. I really played him like a fiddle there. I knew what he had. Trap Dust Shoot is a great card. Sometimes it is a brick, but when it's not a brick and you open it, or when you draw it, when they have Sinister and they go to 4 or something, it's really, really OP. So that is the video, y'all. Hit the like, hit the sub. Have a good day or night. Peace out. Bye.